to our other half of our community engagement. All the candidates. Miss Edwards? She's here. Here she is. Okay, Miss Edwards, how you doing? Happy New Year. Yes, come on in. All right. Well, we've had a chance to do a little mingling and getting acclimated. And once again, we welcome you. I'm Diane Eigelhart, the mission servant leader here at Trinity. And Trinity is a historical African-American church. As you know, we've been serving the greater Houston area for 160 years, going on 161. We'll celebrate that in March. So we want to continue to have community engagement activities so that we can better serve our congregation and our mission field with discipling, with spiritual growth, with the resources they need to have productive and safe and healthy lives. So this is one of the activities. And we thank you so much for coming. And you know, we title this Engaging in Faithful Advocacy, because we want to always be a voice and for people to use us as a vessel, as a faith institution, as a vessel to meet their concerns, to collaborate with others and create partnerships. And this event is sponsored by several partners. We have Super Neighborhood 67 with Ken Rogers, Third Ward Community Club is also one of the partners. Houston Voting Initiative is a partner. Houston Justice is a partner. And the Houston Alumni Chapter of the Kappa Alpha Psi. So we appreciate the collaboration. It helps our reach. It helps us meet more people and make a difference. So I'm going to introduce you now to our senior pastor, Reverend Ed C. Jones, and he will lead us in an opening prayer.
Thank y'all for being here. You can believe in 160 years, it has been some times like these before. I know we can say, man, this has never happened before, but I guarantee you, in 160 years, there have been some foolishness, there has been some evil, there has been some times where we needed to make sure we send the best representative to fight for us. And I'm so grateful for the candidates to be here so that we can discern in this process. Let us pray. Lord, I thank you for giving us opportunity to gather here. Allow your spirit to fall upon us. Allow these candidates to not only receive the wisdom from on high, the support from their family and friends, but Father, for all the constituents in this particular district. Lord, we ask that you guide us in our time together so that we can be our best, so that we can have wisdom, recall, and we can also hear from you, O Lord. Bless these participants, bless all of the community partners, bless all those who are gathered here so that we can give honor, praise to you, O Lord. Lift us up, heal us. For all those who are on their way, give them travel mercies. And God, we just ask that you guide us from this point on. In Jesus' name, amen.
I did want to share with you, when many of you came early, and you did see we had vendors in the back, and want to make sure that you touch base with them. Representatives from Harris County Elections Department, the Outreach Department, and the Tax Assessor's Office, you know, with the VDR training and voter registration. So make sure you touch base with them. We also have a vendor that's focusing on human trafficking. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and we want to educate the community about that. That's the Restoration Life Project, so make sure you visit with them. We also have our own church table, Trinity TMO. We are a part of the Metropolitan Organization, and I have a church member there that she's going to share information about other things that concern us with the Harris County District and the hospital, the Bentop Hospital and Herman Park issue, so that you can gather some more information about that. So take the time to visit the vendors as well. We're going to start off today. One of our concerns is involving young people and creating the surge for them to take part in the elections and voter outreach. And we want to ignite our community. So we have today Journey Jackson. She is a poet, and she has written a spoken word poem about we show up. So we want to make sure that we show up and that we don't get apathetic about voting and say it doesn't matter, because it does matter, and we do count. Everybody is important. So Journey.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Journey, and that's with the I-E, not an E-Y, and I'm a singer, songwriter, and independent artist based out here in Houston. But today, more importantly, I'm a young black woman, and I'm learning about the importance of voting and using my voice. And so I was invited here today by Miss Eigelhart, an honor to be participating in this conversation with you all. So I have for you guys my poem called We Show Up, and I'm really honored to be here. And here we go. I am 20 years old with ink still wet on my future, learning that freedom doesn't come with instructions, just responsibility. They tell us your voice is powerful, but nobody told me that power needs practice, needs showing up when it's quiet, needs courage when it's boring. See, voting isn't just a line on a Tuesday. It's my grandma's prayers folded into paper, and it's my mom working overtime and still believing tomorrow can look different. They say your one vote won't change anything, but change always starts with one voice refusing to stay quiet. See, this power wasn't handed to us. It was pried from clenched fists and locked doors. There was a time my name wouldn't have mattered on paper, when my skin was reason enough to be erased from the process. They called it tests, but the questions weren't about knowledge. They were about control. And they called it fees, but freedom shouldn't come with a price tag. Black hands built this country, but weren't trusted to choose its leaders. And black voices sang the anthem, but were denied the right to be heard. They told us to wait our turn while withholding the clock. People died so I could check a box, bled so I could stand in line with nothing but an ID and an intention. Got hosed down, locked up, buried for the right that we scroll past like it's optional. And that's the part that scares me. Because what was once illegal is now ignored, and what was once dangerous is now dismissed as pointless. We didn't fight to be tired. We didn't march to be indifferent. We didn't survive just to say it doesn't matter. I vote because my ancestors couldn't, because my grandparents remember when fear lived at the polls, because my future depends on whether I show up or stay silent. Look at where we came from whispers to war cries, from chains to choices, from being counted as fractions to being counted on ballots. And look at where we are now, with power in our hands and distractions in our pockets. They don't need to stop us anymore if we stop ourselves. I vote because silence is expressive, because apathy costs lives in small print, because I'm tired of complaining about decisions I didn't help decide. Community is more than a hashtag, more than tragedy bringing us together for a week. It's checking on your neighbor. It's knowing the names on the ballot the same way you know the memes from TikTok. Amen. Voting matters because decisions don't pause because we do. Because laws still get written while we're distracted. Budgets still get signed while we're tired, and lives still get affected whether we show up or not. Voting matters because absence is loud, because when we don't choose, someone else chooses for us. It decides what schools looks like, what streets feel safe, what bodies are protected, and what voices get funding. It's not just politics, it's groceries, it's rent, it's healthcare, it's art programs and bus routes, and who gets remembered when resources get thin. Voting is saying, I was here, I paid attention, and I cared enough to participate in the world I complain about. I stay involved because someone stayed involved for me, because someone marched so I could walk, because every voice that thinks it's too small is usually the ones that they're hoping stays quiet. So I show up not because the system is perfect, but because my people deserve effort, because change doesn't happen overnight. It happens every election, every meeting, every time we decide not to sit this one out. Every vote matters because every sacrifice mattered. Every step forward was paid for by someone who never got to see the finish line. And I refuse to waste what they were willing to die for, and I refuse to treat my voice like a trend or my history like a footnote. Because voting isn't just a right, it's a responsibility to ourselves and those who come after. So when history asks me what I did with the power they died for, my answer will be, I showed up. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Again, like I said, I am only 20 years old, and I did vote in the major election when I was 18, but I can admit that I have not voted in not the major elections. And I'm still learning about the importance of voting in. I got the flyer at the front that said that there's a vote on the 31st that I had no idea about. And I'm sure so many other of my Gen Z counterparts don't know about this vote that's coming up. And so I was introduced to Ms. Eigelhart in another forum that I participated in, and I actually sang one of my songs in, and she recognized me in my voice. And we had a good conversation with more of us, people my age, about the importance of showing up and being aware and being informed and also sharing amongst each other on these platforms that we are all so addicted to. So I'm here to learn and here to be a part of the conversation and grow. And thank you guys so much.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. You were very inspirational to all of us. You really were. So we're going to really get started now. That pumps us all up. And the next person is Dr. Annie Benefield. She's going to introduce our moderator.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everyone. We're really excited that everybody came. It's Saturday morning in January. Is pretty exciting to be here. Well, I have the privilege of introducing July McShay. She's a professor of government at St. Jack College, where she teaches constitutional law, Reconstruction, and civil rights. So you definitely want to, if you have access to that information, get it on Reconstruction and civil rights, because we're in a Reconstruction period right now. She's an LMI Mellon Fellow. In March, she published her first book, March of 2023, she published her first book, Not My Bread Alone, Taking the F's of Life and Making Them Work for You. Came out of COVID, being secluded and isolated. This book provided a venue, and she featured her famous Pooh Fo, my goodness suit. McShay is well known in Houston area political and policy expert, a social justice advocate, and public speaker. She is the creator of the popular Houston platform, Pretty Petty Politics. You should definitely listen to her podcast. She has some very interesting things to say, and she has some very interesting guests. I'm waiting for an invite. So the new platform inspired by her love for political awareness, social justice, and delicious food. Apparently she is Chef July. She's just not broadcasting that quite as much. She earned her Juris Doctorate from Miles College School of Law in Alabama, my home state, Master of Public Administration at TSU, right here in 3rd Ward, and proud graduate of Talladega College, HBCU, which I'm mentioning. She's been a committed advisor to individuals seeking public political office locally and throughout various regions of the country for over a decade. She's a trusted voice and a quiet strategist, and as a result of that, she has launched the HCLcampaignschool.com. So if you're interested in politics, know someone who's interested in politics, to get educated so that they can fully engage in the political process as a candidate, she's going to teach you how to. All the things that you need to know about politics. And one of the other things I want to say before I sit down about her, she's a member of the Talladega Alumni Association, aka sorority, the Links, the society, so she's very actively engaged and involved in her community. And so if you want to follow her on social media, Pretty Petty Politics on YouTube, Facebook, Pretty Petty Politics, and TikTok, The Pretty Professor. So join me in welcoming July McShay as the moderator.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm excited to be back, and I just want to report because Dr. Benefield didn't say this. So in the fall, she was like, I haven't invited her over for dinner, but I have had her over for dinner because I do enjoy curating dinner parties. So once again, I think it's still good morning. Yes, once again, good morning. So let's point out first our timekeepers. Could you all wave? They have the paddles. They're not going to use them on y'all, but they're going to show them to you. All right? No corporal punishment. All right. So let's start. Congratulations. Welcome. I'm so excited for the both of you. It has been a long journey. We are moving into, is this month 10? Yeah. So this has been a long journey. You've made it to a runoff. We got through November. The governor gave us the last day he could think of for this runoff. That is an accomplishment. How have you been managing the stress, the strain, the challenges, and the hopes during this season in running this campaign? What have you all done, and how do you feel as you've made it this far? Either one of you can go first. Whoever goes first.
Okay, I'll jump in. Good morning, everybody. Christian Menifee, super excited to be here today. And I'm very grateful for this being the first question because it's something I've been thinking a lot about. You know, we came into the holiday season and most people were able to kind of unwind, kick their shoes off, chill out. I can't speak for Miss Edwards, but I know that was not my holiday season. During Thanksgiving, I cooked a lot of stuff, so that was great. During Christmas, my wife told me you cannot be standing over the stove because we don't get no time to hang out. So we just kind of ordered in and did a bunch of nothing. And I think that was the one day I got 24 hours of doing absolutely nothing. So it was a beautiful thing. So, you know, it's been a lot of prayer, a lot of family time, and it's a marathon. You know, when we first set out in this campaign, there were a lot of unknowns. We would have had no way of knowing that the governor would delay the election that long. We would have had no way of knowing that redistricting would happen. We would have no way of knowing that the president would lose his mind and take all these votes that were going to harm our communities. But I'm in it for the long haul, and I've been surviving, and I'm very grateful to be here today.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards?
Well, first, let me say Happy New Year, everyone. I'm coming into the new year with a spirit of optimism. I think that what we can all acknowledge is that 2025 hit us hard. And I think we need to be aware of the impact and take the self-care that is needed. And I think a lot of people we saw kind of just shut it down during the holiday season. And rightfully so, because we have to take those moments to reset and recharge. But I'm energized now because we are finally embarking upon a special election that is so long overdue. When I think about, I had a reporter ask me a question and they said, well, are you concerned about voter fatigue? And I said, you know, what I'm more concerned about, people are more tired of not having a voice. They're more tired of not having that vote. They're more tired of not having somebody be able to advocate for them for far too long. And so when I think about the residents and this opportunity finally that has arisen, it's energizing and it provides me hope and optimism that 26 will in fact be a better year. 26 will in fact allow us to get our voice back. And so I'm very excited, and I've been able to talk to residents who I think are now coming out of the holiday season with a little more excitement as well.
Excellent. Thank you both. And with that, I am now going to allow the candidates to introduce themselves, and we'll start with Ms. Edwards. I wanted to just break the line with that first question. So, Ms. Edwards, Happy New Year. Good to see you again. I'm sure I'll see you in a few days. Please take this time. You have 1 minute of introductions.
I'll go ahead and stand. I guess it's good morning. My name is Amanda Edwards, and I am your former at-large Houston City Council member. I'm standing here this morning because I want to serve as your next Congresswoman. This 18th Congressional District has gone through a lot in a short period of time. We've lost Congresswoman Jackson Lee, Congressman Turner. We saw the redistricting take place in our community. Something known as a big, beautiful bill even got passed. And so what we need in a leader in this next leg of this journey is someone who has experience, someone who has the experience to bring home the resources to this district, someone who has the experience to write and create policies that create systems that work for people, and someone who also has the experience to work alongside the community for the community and deliver those results. That's what I offer up. But I also offer up a vision that we can execute so that we're not just talking about what we had and what we need to get back, but where we can go. That's part of leadership. And in a moment that we're standing in that is so difficult with a president who does not want us to have health care or education or economic stability, we need to forge a path for our future. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Christian Menifee, and I'm running for Congress here in the 18th Congressional District because it was a thoughtful, a compassionate, a helpful government that gave me my first shot at the American dream. I grew up benefiting from the WIC program, from free lunch in our public schools. My parents could only buy a house because of VA down payment assistance. I was only able to be the first in my family to go to college because of a Pell Grant. Only went to law school because of the post 9/11 GI Bill, and my brother only survived cancer because of my parents' military health insurance that fully funded his bone marrow transplant. He's been in remission for more than 20 years. So many folks across our communities. If the government is broken, it breaks our ability to survive and thrive in this country. For the past 5 years, I've been a county attorney, and it's been simple for me. Every single time there's been a threat on our community from the president, from the governor, from the attorney general, I have fought back and won to protect our voting rights, to make sure we have clean air and clean water, to make sure our democracy is protected. What we need to send right now to Congress is somebody who's going to fight and deliver for our communities on issues like health care, making sure our small businesses are thriving, that we have affordable housing. That's what I'm offering up to go to Congress, Christian Menifee, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you. So just as a reminder, candidates will have 1 minute to respond, and our timekeepers are going to hold the paddles a little higher just in case they don't see it. And it's okay if they're still speaking. We're going to allow them to finish their statement. We're not going to be like, push. It's not the classroom. So this is relaxed. These are our friends. They are our community. They are leaders in our community. We're going to give them the respect that they deserve. And we're excited to be here with you all. I'm getting really excited because the 31st is coming. So let's start with the questions. The first question will go to Mr. Menifee. Texas Congressional District 18 has lacked representation since March 2025. What do you see as your 3 top priorities if elected?
Well, the first overarching is we have to stand up to what's going on right now in Washington, D.C. SNAP benefits have been cut, Medicaid access is being cut, so we need to send somebody up there who's going to fight back. But everywhere I go across the district, what folks are telling me is that they want the 18th to be one of the best places to live, to work, and to raise a family in all the state of Texas. Living means ensuring that we have affordable housing and that we fight for Medicare for all so that every single person in this district has health care. Working means that we're ensuring that we raise the minimum wage, which I want to raise to $15 an hour, and that we're investing in our small businesses. And making sure that people can raise a family here means fighting for public education so that no child in our schools is sent to a building that's dilapidated, where the teachers aren't paid well, where they're not able to get a quality education. So I'm going to fight back against Trump, but I'm also going to make sure that our district is one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family in all the state of Texas.
Ms. Edwards?
When I was growing up, my father was diagnosed with something called multiple myeloma. It was a very aggressive form of cancer that ended up taking his life when I was a teenager. And I'll never forget asking my dad questions like, what would happen if the insurance company that what I was learning about, what if they said no to his life-saving treatments? And my dad would just answer me and say, well, we would just have to figure something else out. And I knew then, just like I know today, that was the wrong answer. The right answer should have been that we have systems in place that save lives and work for people and keep them together. And so when we hear about the debate on healthcare affordability, I take that personally and know that I will fight for you as though it is your own right in life, because that's what's lying in the balance of these decisions. Healthcare access, economic opportunity, and education are the three pillars that I will be focused on as your next Congresswoman, because those are the three pillars that enable our community not just to get by day to day, but the opportunity to truly thrive each and every single day. And that's what this work is about. Thank you.
Our next question, civil rights and civil liberties is the topic. The University of Houston Hobby School of Public Affairs conducted a survey in October 2025 of 1,200 voters who were likely to participate in the November 25 Texas Congressional District 18 special election. These likely voters were presented with a list of 8 issues to rank. The issue, civil rights and civil liberties, was chosen as the most important issue facing the country today. If elected, how will you use your role in Congress to protect civil rights and civil liberties in our nation? Ms. Edwards.
I think it goes without saying, we are in the fight of a lifetime. I've never seen a president who has fought against the rule of law in the way that this president does. I've never seen a president who has challenged and fought against health care, education, economic stability, and our civil rights in the way that this president has. We have got to recognize the moment that we're standing in. And it's not something that requires us to be on our heels. Instead, we must have a strategic vision for the future so that we can begin to lead again. When we play defense, and I played sports growing up, you had to play offense and you had to play defense. But you didn't play defense on your heels. You got on your toes. You were strategic, and you knew how aggressive you needed to be in order to effectuate your plan. We've got to get back into the posture of leading when it comes to civil rights, fighting back with regard to these attacks that he's encroaching upon each and every single day with the overreach of the executive orders and the like. And we can do that with me in office as your next Congresswoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Menifee.
I'm going to use every single tool I have as a member of Congress to fight back against the Trump administration. And the way that you know I'm going to do that is because I did it as Harris County Attorney. When Ken Paxton came out to Houston and tried to get more than 2,000 legally cast ballots, these were y'all's votes, thrown out, I took him to court, all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court. We beat him, and every single vote was counted. When Republicans filed election lawsuits to get our election results out here thrown out, we fought them out in court, and those results were protected. So it's about ensuring that those fights happen. And how you do that in Congress is investigate, investigate, investigate. Democrats will take back the House in 2026. And if I'm on those committees, I'm going to make sure that I'm fighting back. The last thing I want to say is we've seen what happened over the last few days. An ICE agent shot a woman in the face and killed her after she dropped off her kids. We cannot sit idly by and let this happen to our democracy. I'm going to Congress to fight aggressively, because we cannot allow these types of things to happen in our country and people to be slain in broad daylight, all because the president is weaponizing and radicalizing the executive branch.
Thank you. This next question is, we'll start with you, Mr. Menifee. Disaster response funding. FEMA has lost thousands of staff, and key long-term recovery programs have been scaled back. And you know, in Houston, we need our FEMA. If elected, what federal policies would you champion to rebuild FEMA's capacity and ensure equitable recovery for all vulnerable Texas neighborhoods?
I have a close friend from college, one of my fraternity brothers, who just a couple of years ago, when we had a major storm, his girlfriend that he had dated since high school was trapped in her car and drowned in the flooding. Throughout our city, there are people who have a similar story or know somebody who has a similar story. There's a trauma that exists when you live in a city that has to deal with hurricanes and with flooding. And when we were at our worst here in the Gulf Coast, the governor in the state of Texas, when they got more than $1 billion for Hurricane Harvey recovery dollars, they sent us $0. I stepped in and immediately fought back. We got that zero up to $750 million. In the federal government, I'm gonna do everything I can to restore FEMA, to ensure that we have direct allocation, which means that we're not gonna send those funds to Greg Abbott. We're gonna send them directly to our communities to be spent. to ensure that we're looking at the worst first. So we're targeting the areas in our community that need the most help first, and doing everything we can to have rapid rehousing and rental assistance so that people can get the dollars they need after the storm comes.
Ms. Edwards?
8 years ago, something known as Harvey hit our community, and I don't have to tell you what 51 inches of rainfall can do because you lived that experience. But I will tell you what I witnessed as an at-large Houston City Council member who rolled up her sleeves, got to work, went door to door, and made sure that our most vulnerable residents weren't being left behind. We had secured direct allocation in that case for some Harvey relief, yet and still we saw FEMA disenfranchise and treat our residents with cruelty by keeping them at nose and denying them coverage. There was a woman by the name of Miss Caverna Moore, and I nearly fell through the floor of her home, and it was because of a New York Times piece that I had to get written that she got her FEMA check. That cannot be disaster recovery in our country. That cannot be the FEMA response in our community. And so I will make sure that FEMA is not only funded, but properly trained so that people are not treated in ways that are not equitable. That's wrong. In addition to that, we need to overhaul disaster recovery in our country so that it works for people as opposed to treating them as though they are going to embark upon fraud and abuse. That's a problem, and we need to measure our success by the number of homes that we put on the ground in helping our residents. Thank you.
Affordable housing. Texas CD 18 includes neighborhoods experiencing rapid gentrification where longtime residents face displacement due to rising property taxes, rent, and insurance costs. Ms. Edwards, you'll be first. If elected to Congress, what specific federal policies would you advance to increase access to affordable housing while allowing current residents to remain in their communities?
Thank you for that question. I mentioned to you the work that I did around Harvey, and what we discovered is that there were so many residents that were finding ways to get rejected when it came to housing programs that were offered, but not getting to solutions. And so one of the ideas that I have is to have a housing solution center where we bring together the federal, the state, the local government, and bring in the case management so that people can navigate through this complex system that doesn't work well for anyone. In addition to the housing solution centers and funding that, I would also be proffering tax relief for people who are faced with the situation of having to have this tax burden on the ground that, of course, is attributable to the gentrification that is taking place in our community. Separate from that, we also need to make sure that we are providing people with access to CDBG dollars. And when I was serving on council, I was on the board of directors for National League of Cities and helped to advocate for more of those dollars that help with affordable housing. We need to make sure that cities like Houston that doesn't actually have a comprehensive affordable housing plan brings that to bear, and requiring the CDBG dollars to be tied to such will be a way to make sure we get serious about affordable housing in our community.
Mr. Menifee.
When I was growing up, we lived in various places throughout the district, but there was one place, an apartment complex on the northwest side of town that we lived on. And I remember very vividly how many times I saw corporate landlords coming in, changing the housing of the community, and people getting pushed out, get displaced. Because we know that many times these developers commit to building affordable housing, but that's not actually what they end up building. That's why, as your county attorney, I filed a lawsuit in order to force the developers to build affordable housing when they commit to it. But when I was coming up, the only way that we got out of that apartment complex and got into a house was because of VA down payment assistance. The federal government gave my parents down payment assistance, and that's how we were able to buy our first house. Our Vice President, Kamala Harris, had a down payment assistance plan that she wanted to support. I would support the exact same thing, making sure that first-time home buyers, the folks throughout our community, have access to down payment assistance. But we also need to change federal law, because right now corporate landlords get way too many tax benefits to come into our communities to build up a bunch of buildings that don't meet the culture of the community. So I'm going to do every single thing I can to fight displacement, fight gentrification, and make sure we have more affordable housing in our communities.
Thank you. Our next question, we will start with Mr. Menifee, and it's on environmental justice. It is well known that in recent years, many areas of Congressional District 18, such as the 5th Ward community, have been negatively impacted by harmful pollutants that resulted in childhood and adult cancer clusters and chronic diseases for children and the elderly. The community has continued their advocacy for testing, relocation, and restitution with support from elected officials. If elected, how would you support the community in battling this issue and others, such as the placement of concrete batch plants, concrete crusher plants, metal recyclers, dredge placement sites, and other industrial facilities in our neighborhoods? What federal actions, such as creating policies to deny permits and to enforce regulations for air and water emissions, would you take to protect CD18 neighborhoods from being impacted by harmful exposure to toxins and pollutants?
Environmental injustice is a major problem in our communities. I remember years ago, back when I first got elected as Harris County Attorney, I went into Fifth Ward and sat down with a woman who had just lost her son to cancer. She walked me through the neighborhood and she said, "You see that house right there? They lost 2 kids to cancer. You see that house? Both the grandparents passed away from cancer." And the state was set to approve a cleanup permit for a cleanup plan that was not going to do anything to fix that problem. So I teamed up with the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, with the late then Mayor Sylvester Turner. We were able to block that and get the EPA involved. But then what happened? Donald Trump got elected and cut the EPA budget by 60%. He abolished the Environmental Justice Office from the EPA. What we need to do is very clear. We need an EPA that believes in enforcement, that is going to ensure that folks are paid whenever a company comes in and contaminates their communities and folks are dying because of it. And we need real air permitting regulations that are going to ensure that federal standards are applied in this state. You shouldn't be seeing concrete batch plants in Acres Homes at Fifth Ward, but you're not going to see a single one in River Oaks. Send me to Congress, I will fight to make sure that doesn't happen.
Ms. Edwards, same question. And would you like, it was very long, do you want me to repeat it?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's long. All righty. If elected, how would you support the community in battling this issue of environmental justice and others, such as the placement of concrete batch plants, concrete crusher plants, metal recyclers, dredge placement sites, and other industrial facilities in our neighborhoods? What federal actions, such as creating policies to deny permits and to enforce regulations for air and water emissions, would you take to protect CD18 neighborhoods from being impacted by harmful exposure to toxins and pollutants?
You know, our community, Houston, we have a lot to brag about. We're home to the world's largest medical center. We're home to NASA. We have, you know, we're the energy capital of the world. And we have so much at our disposal where we really demonstrate leadership on our ability to forge a path for the future. However, when it comes to issues of environmental contamination, we are lagging behind at a rate that is staggering. And what we need to do is introduce equitable outcomes for people who have been impacted by environmental injustice, like the cancer cluster. If you are saying to someone that your house or property will be bought out, don't buy them out at a rate that is diminished based on the fact that it's been contaminated. Get them in a position where they can actually be relocated and put into a position where they're not worse off as opposed to better off than they were. That's equitable outcomes. And so thinking outside of the box, we can't just ask for what is currently available. We ought to ask for what can be. And that's what I will be doing as your next Congresswoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next topic is crime. Eradicating human trafficking in the greater Houston area. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. The greater Houston area ranks #1 in the country in human trafficking activity. Houston is the Tier 1 category of trafficking due to our major interstate highways and sporting events. Human trafficking is a crime of coercion and exploitation. African American and Hispanic women and men are disproportionately targeted and face extreme danger when trying to escape. Oftentimes, youth in foster care are at risk of being trafficked when they age out. In CD18 zip code 77004 and 77021, they have a sizable percentage of African American children in foster care. If elected, what specific federal actions would you support in Congress to strengthen prevention, prosecution, and survivor services in our district? Ms. Edwards, we'll hear from you first.
I was on city council when the Super Bowl came, and as you know, our community is ripe for human trafficking in a way like none other. But what I saw was very interesting. We put resources in place and made public awareness campaigns and made sure people understood what to look for when it came to the issue of trafficking. So my question that I asked at that time that we're going to answer now is, how is it that we have answers and solutions and can bring those numbers down when we have a special event, but when it's time for the day-to-day, we turn a blind eye? You need to have public awareness where every single person knows what to look for and what to spot when there's an issue of sex trafficking or labor trafficking. You need to put resources behind also supporting those who have been involved in trafficking, not treating them as though they should be a part of the criminal justice system, but instead treating them as the victims that they are and getting them help that they need. Being anything other than that perpetuates a system of trafficking and, of course, creates a community where we're harming people rather than serving them, and I will be working on that as your next Congresswoman.
Before I took office as the county attorney, my predecessor had a lawsuit out on the Bissonnette tract. This is one of the areas of the most human trafficking in all of Houston, and that lawsuit was against not just the traffickers, not just the Johns, but also against the women, many of whom were victims. As soon as I got in office, I dismissed every single woman from that lawsuit because it would penalize them and put them into the criminal justice system. And here's the main issue. We have to understand that human trafficking victims are victims, and that's how the federal funding should flow. On the front end, we have to ensure that we are having educational campaigns so that people know what to look for in order to avoid being targeted. When the trafficking is actually happening, we need to make sure that we fully fund law enforcement programs that go after the folks who are trafficking victims to ensure that they are funded in a way that they can target those folks. And then on the tail end, if folks are able to get out of that situation, we need to have proper support services so that they can get back on their feet and get back into the workforce. Study after study shows that you have to prevent it from happening because once folks get in that system, it is very hard to get them out. Send me to Congress and I hope fund it on the front end.
Just as a reminder, the candidates have 1 minute to respond. Our timekeepers are here on this third row, so you can see them when they put up the time, and we are allowing the candidates to complete their questions or their responses to the questions. Mr. Menifee, this next one, we'll start with you. This is in regards to the Affordable Care Act premium. Expiration of Enhanced Affordable Care Act premium subsidies. The expanded tax credits, first created during the pandemic and later extended through the Inflation Reduction Act, expired on December 31st of last year, just last week. After Congress failed to reach a deal, about 22 million people who relied on the enhanced subsidies are now facing sharply higher premiums. Premiums for subsidized enrollees are rising by an average of 114% in 2026. Between 2.2 and 7.3 million people may drop coverage due to cost increases. Roughly 4 million people are expected to become uninsured without enhanced subsidies. Texas continues to have the highest uninsured rate in the nation, and the consequences in the 18th district include delayed care, medical debts, preventable deaths, and strained safety net providers, and they are severe. If elected, what specific actions will you support to extend federal health care subsidies so people can maintain health insurance coverage?
When I was in elementary school, my brother was battling leukemia, and we were in hospitals throughout the area, but we ended up at MD Anderson. And I will tell you, time and time again, I saw so many families that had to make tough decisions because they couldn't afford the care. But you see, my father was still in the military, so we had TRICARE insurance, which ensured that all of my brother's chemo, radiation, and ultimately his bone marrow transplant was covered. I believe in a healthcare system where not a single person in this country has to choose between putting food on the table and ensuring that they're given the life-saving treatment that they need. That's why I support a single-payer healthcare system where every single person in this country is guaranteed access to healthcare, that they can see a doctor when they need it. Right now, we see that Donald Trump is cutting those subsidies And I believe it's on Democrats in Congress to not back down. If I go to Congress, every single bill that comes before the House, if I can attach or force a vote on the cutting of those subsidies, I'm going to do it each and every time. As your county attorney, I fought Trump in court and beat him to protect local health care programs. I will fight just as hard in Congress.
I mentioned that healthcare is personal to me because of what I was able to witness growing up. And for any family, they should not have to be put to or left to their own devices as to whether or not their life that's hanging in the balance can be at stake. And so for me, we have got to be serious and prioritize healthcare because it touches on so many aspects of human life. Number one, the Affordable Care Act subsidies, they obviously need to be enacted. We saw the first tranche, the passage of the bill this week. We need the Senate to pass it. Of course, we don't know if that will take place. I will continue to fight for those subsidies to be enacted, no matter what. Number two, as it relates to whether or not the Affordable Care Act provides the coverage that you need, the answer is no, and we need to fight for that too. It does you no good to be insured if you are underinsured, and Texas is home to some of the highest levels of underinsured Americans in the nation. So I will be fighting for that. In addition to that, I will be dealing with and fighting for health equity, because right now, we face some of the most egregious disparities in the nation. And so I will be also aggressively attacking that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next question, this one gets me excited because it is higher education. Institutions of higher education in Texas and nationwide are facing increased political scrutiny, restrictions on curriculum, and pressure related to faculty governance, student expression, and staff protections. The Federal Department of Education is under attack with temporary transfers of some functions to other agencies. If elected, what is your strategy as a member of Congress to protect academic freedom and the rights of faculty, staff, and students while also ensuring strong accountability and transparency in public higher education? We'll start with Ms. Edwards.
We're in a moment where we are in one of the most absurd fights I've ever seen. Attacking our own education system is like cannibalizing your own. But that's what we have begun doing with this toxic administration run by President Trump. What we need to do is make sure that our education institutions are supported. One of the things that is a major piece and benefit of having higher ed is having research and cures to cancer develop. And when we have these fights among the administration and our higher ed institutions, it is immensely problematic, not just because of the fact that this is a waste of resources, but it's also problematic because we could be costing people their lives. And we've got to get serious about the fact that as policymakers, real lives lie in the balance of the decisions that we make or choose not to create. And that's one of the things that we've got to think about is the implications of the war that has been now waged against higher ed from our administration, which I will fight back about. Thank you.
Mr. Menifee.
Public education changed my life, and higher education was just an extension of that. Think about how many kids out there went to college for the first time in their family's history and got into a classroom, met a professor, and that professor was the first person to pour into them, to invest in them. Those same professors who have helped our children get to the next level are now being hauled before Congress because Trump is having them investigate them simply because they're stating the things that they believe. I'm a firm believer that when Democrats get the House back, we should be investigating the executive branch and Donald Trump for all of the times that they have targeted administrators at our universities and professors. And I also will not support a single bill in Congress that infringes on folks' right to free speech while they're on a college campus. But the last thing we need to do is fully restore the Department of Education. The president cares so little about education that he put a professional wrestler in charge of the Department of Education. Okay, he's letting you know he don't care. I get to Congress, I'm going to do every single thing I can to restore that funding and make sure the Department of Education is fully funded so that kids out there can have a future and a hope and get educated.
All right. Thank you both for that. I will be watching as a college professor. That is now, listen, that's a serious matter for me. Next, and we're winding down to our final questions, maternity mortality in Texas. Harris County's maternal mortality rate is far higher than the rest of Texas, despite us being the home of the world's largest medical center or complex. Do I need to repeat that? Oh, okay. And our infant mortality rate remains deeply troubling. Drivers of maternal health in Texas include lack of insurance, maternal health deserts in rural areas, inadequate postpartum support, mental health conditions including suicide and intimate partner violence. If elected, what specific federal actions would you take to reduce preventable deaths, expand access to quality maternal care, and address the racial and economic disparities that are driving these outcomes in our communities? Mr. Menifee, we'll start with you.
Right now in this country, if you're a black woman and you go to the hospital to give birth, there's a higher likelihood that you come out of the hospital with a long-term health issue, and there's a higher likelihood that you don't come out of the hospital at all. We experienced that in my family. My wife, we have 2 kids, and we had a complication on our second, and we were forced into a C-section that brought her very, very close to the brink of her life. Nobody in our country should have to experience that. And there's something that we can do about it. Right now, Medicaid coverage only extends for 60 days postpartum, but it's optional that it can be up until a year. That should not be optional. Greg Abbott shouldn't be able to decide whether black women get care for 60 days or an entire year. And there's also a bill that's been filed by a black woman in Congress called the Omnibus Act, and I will fully support that if I get to Congress. It ensures that we have training for folks who work in perinatal so that they are understanding the differences between the delivery situation with a white woman and a black woman. It ensures that we're investing in social determinants of health like nutrition, medicine, and ensuring that folks have proper access to food. You send me to Congress, this will be one of my top issues, ensuring that we address the inconsistencies that we're seeing in the system right now.
Thank you so much. Ms. Edwards.
While I served on city council, I was appointed to serve on the steering committee for Harris County area to deal with the issue of black maternal health. And one of the things that is staggering is that we have not had the right resources pumped into our communities to actually do anything meaningful about it. And one of the things that is also happening right now is that you're seeing 2 other situations from the state where the committee that was charged with tracking certain deaths, that they took a reprieve from a period of time, which also aids in this issue. As your next Congresswoman, I will be supporting making sure that things like the Omnibus bill, with whom I've talked to Congresswoman Lauren Underwood about, will be fully funded. We need to bring those dollars into our region so that we can reduce these disparities. It is unconscionable to be the home of the world's largest medical center and be one of the highest in black maternal deaths in the nation. That is unacceptable, and we have to stand up against it, and we stand up against it with policy and resources. You've got to put your money where your mouth is, and that's what I'll do as your next Congresswoman.
Thank you. And for our final questions, this is concerning local concerns. As an example, the TEA takeover of Houston Independent School District has raised serious concerns about transparency, equity, and community voice. And we're seeing the same thing happen in our neighboring town or city of Beaumont over in Jefferson County. If elected, how will you support residents of District 18 in addressing local concerns that affect our neighborhoods, schools, and quality of life? In what ways will you use your position as our congressional representative to advocate for our community, facilitate engagement with key entities, and ensure that our voices are heard? Ms. Edwards, you will be first.
You know, one of the things you get to do in Congress, besides for policy making, besides for constituent response, and besides for bringing home the bacon, is using that bully pulpit. And you've got to use that bully pulpit in a way that will bring our community together to make a difference in the issues that matter most to them. This TEA takeover has been a disaster for our community, and our kids are having to suffer the consequences of not only having the attack on them on a local level, but also seeing their schools be underfunded because of this voucher program and because of the Department of Ed being dismantled in the way that it has, reducing Title I funding to our schools as well. I will be standing up against the lack of transparency exhibited by the TEA. I know that when when Mike Miles spent nearly $1 billion without the appropriate approvals, it was viewed as an oversight. Had anyone in this room done something similar, we'd be in jail. And so these are things that we cannot continue to just turn a blind eye to, because that made our community lose trust in the system, so much so that they were willing to say no to the bonds that would have helped to fund our schools. We have to put leadership in place that are trusted leaders who then can help this community function properly. Thank you.
Mr. Menifee.
I'll address the local concerns that happen in our communities by being outside, by being in our communities, talking directly with the people who are experiencing them. When somebody in the community told me that she had a family member whose house was stolen out from under them because of a deed fraudster who forged a deed, it's a house that had been passed down multiple generations, was stolen from them, I took action in the county attorney's office. We sued, and we got more than 40 black and brown folks in our communities their homes back after deed fraudsters had stole them. When folks at an apartment complex told us that it was being run by a slumlord who wasn't fixing the plumbing, so that there was feces that was going all down into people's homes in the parking lot, we went after him. We targeted him, and we were able to make life better for those people. There have been many things that I've done over the past 5 years that I learned about them from being with folks in the community. I plan to be an accessible member of Congress. Y'all will have my cell phone number. We will have mobile office hours. I will be in your communities so that we can talk directly. I can hear from you and start to find solutions to the problems that you have.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our candidates a round of applause. That was certainly a power hour. And I want to thank you both. Now it's time for closing remarks. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, and once we finish with closing remarks, we will move into questions from the audience that are written on index cards. If someone could bring those index cards up to me so that we'll be prepared for those questions. If you need one, they're on the back table just outside the double doors. All right. So I think someone's going to bring them in, and then I have some pens here. Okay. All right. And thank you for your patience. So for closing remarks, I think we start. Yeah, that's how they have it. We started with Mr. Menifee. Did we start? Okay. So closing remarks would be Mr. Menifee, because we just finished with Ms. Edwards. I apologize.
Thank you all very much for having us here today. Again, I'm Christian Menifee. I've been your county attorney for the past 5 years, and I'm running for Congress because right now we need somebody who's going to go up to D.C. and fight for us every day and deliver results to make sure that we're not forced into Donald Trump's version of America. Look, it's very clear right now what's going on in the White House. It is a targeting of our communities. When planes fall out of the sky, what does Donald Trump say? It's DEI. He's talking about black folks. When he's going after federal prosecutors, when he's going after judges, who is he targeting? He's targeting black folks. He's cutting Medicaid. He's cutting SNAP benefits, all programs that benefit people in our communities. And at a time like this, I could not sit idly by while our democracy is under attack from the White House and from the folks in Congress who refuse to stand up to him. The promise you have from me is when I go to Congress, I'm going to fight every single day to make sure that we have universal health care so that nobody has to choose between paying the rent and getting life-saving treatment. I'm going to fight every single day to make sure that people are being paid fair wages, because in 2007, I was working at HEB making $7.25 an hour, and there are still people in this country who are making that right now, and that's not right. You send me to Congress, I'm going to make sure that our communities are taken care of every single day, and I'm going to fight back up there while I'm doing it. I'm Christian Menifee. I love our communities. I will continue to serve them in each and every way that I can, and I'm asking for your support and for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards.
We are in the fight of a lifetime, and I take this very personally. I was born, raised, and I still live in this 18th Congressional District, and it is so important that we put someone in place who will not just fight for what's right, but also serve the community and deliver real results. When Harvey struck our community, I went door to door, as I mentioned, and checked on our seniors and made sure they had the support that they needed. But when I would knock on those doors, the first thing they would always ask me is, "What are you doing here?" And I'd say to them, "I'm your city council member. I'm here to help." And then they'd look at me and say, "But wait a minute, are you up for re-election already?" They could not fathom, even in the case of the second worst disaster in U.S. history, that I could be standing there just to do my job. Because we have conditioned people to come accustomed to the fact that we only know your names and we only know your issues when it's time to campaign. And we forget your name and forget those issues when it's time to deliver results. I have a track record of delivering change for our community when it comes to small businesses of color, when it comes to housing that is needed in our community that is in desperate need of repair, when it comes to creating economic opportunity for people. That's what I've done as your city council member. You need someone from the community who will work alongside the community and deliver for the community. That's what this community deserves, and that's what this moment requires. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Y'all want to give them another round of applause? All right. And again, if you have index cards, please bring them up. I'm going to start with this one since it's already up front. My name is V, and I run a property retention business. Okay.
So I run a property retention business. So what that means is, we know that for us, because it has nothing to do with the forefront. It's the developer gives them tax credits and all of that. So we're gonna have to change the narrative. We're gonna have to stop lying. But I actually go to court and teach people how to consult them on how to go to court and get their properties through time. Now, that good work moves slower than predatory investing. People are forging documents. They are doing all kinds of things because two things. They feel like our community does not have the education. They're not educated by my finance. People also feel as if you don't have the money for attorneys. Well, if you're not minding your business and you don't have a reason to try to defend your property, why would you worry about having the money to defend your property? Here's my thing. The county and the
Can you ask the question? Because we got to
they
keep
can
time.
find us if we had warrants. Why can't they find heirs to make sure these heirs are being served? Why can't they, why are these judges giving these properties over because people by default judgment? So I want to know what you're going to do about things like that because 7 zip codes, 11 zip codes are waiting on me to tell them who's local, who's in our corner, and who's local. That's my
So I'm going to read what you wrote as the question to make it more formal. Will you support federal due process like verified services before judgments are entered? Okay. People are verified, their service is verified. Oh, due process, so they've been serviced properly before judgments are entered.
100% yes. And also, just to be clear, the additional layer that we have here in Houston that I think we don't talk about enough is that we charge for-profit developers with the responsibility of creating something affordable. Well, that's not what their profit motivation is there to do to begin with. And so we need to start bringing and pushing dollars into the hands of what we call CDCs, Community Development Corporations. In other cities, they do that all over the place. I've worked in 6 different CDCs before I moved back home to Houston, and it's one of the most useful tools in trying to really create affordable housing in our community. So that's one of the things that I will be pushing for, to connect those CDBG dollars to CDC funding. I will support due process in this manner and certainly support making sure that our communities are not being taken advantage of. So I would love to connect with you after this to get some more details about what else can be done to help support this effort. But yes, you will have a full partner in me in that regard.
Yes, it doesn't matter if it's a fraudster or if it's the government. Folks shouldn't be having their homes stolen out from under them, and they're not getting an opportunity to have their fair day in court. So I do not support default judgments running rampant, being able to steal folks' homes out from under them. And the same thing goes on the fraudster side, which is why we filed those lawsuits to be able to get those folks their home back. But it's also about having preventative measures in place, right? If a deed is filed on somebody's home, folks should be able to get notified so that they know that something happened so they can take action before it's too late. So my short answer is yes, fully support enhancing those due process protections to ensure that those types of default judgments aren't happening.
All right, thank you. This next question, audience question, is directed to Mr. Menifee, but we will ask both. We'll start with Mr. Menifee. Congresswoman Lee led her voice in support to opposing the takeover of HISD. What can we expect from you to specifically address in the heinous conditions of HISD under the demolition by Mike Miles?
Two things. One, I oppose the HISD takeover, full stop, and I've been public on that. What Mike Miles has done to try to run our schools into the ground, to try to run our teachers out of HISD, has been absolutely abhorrent, and I will continue to fight back against that publicly. The second thing is, we need a representative government at the state of Texas. Right now, the governor's mansion, the lieutenant governor's office, the state senate, the state house, the Supreme Court, and the attorney general are all in the hands of the same political party. And that is the party that through the state level funds public education. They don't care about your schools. They could not care less about our schools. So I'm going to do every single thing I can to get folks elected who see the world the way that I do, who believe that teachers should be paid like the professionals that they are, 6 figures, who believe that our classrooms should be beautiful places where students can come in and learn and have all the tools they need to be successful and not divested from in the way that the state has done it.
Ms. Edwards?
As I mentioned previously, I am against the TEA takeover of our schools. We are using our kids as political chips in a game. And what that's going to result in is kids who don't have adequate education, don't have adequate schools, don't have adequate futures. And as a product of public school myself, I'm a proud graduate of Eisenhower High School in the Aldine Public School District. I know how important it is to have education going from Eisenhower to Harvard Law School. And I would not have been afforded that opportunity if I was I may not have been able to afford that opportunity if I'd been facing the circumstances that our kids are taking now with this TEA takeover. They're not receiving adequate education in this stressful environment that is highly political and toxic. And so we have to fight back and push back, and I will use the bully pulpit of Congress to do that.
Thank you. All right, this question is, what are your views of our nation's role in the world? And I'm guessing this is because of all the things that are happening, whether it's Venezuela, Nigeria, or even Greenland, and then the threats against our other neighbors throughout the Americas. What are your thoughts and your views on our role in the world? And we'll start with Ms. Edwards.
I said I was optimistic about 26, but 26 has been a mixed bag, y'all. We started off, with this attack and aggression with regard to Venezuela, having a president not only act unilaterally without the authorization of Congress, but then saying that we were going to begin to run this nation. Now he's talking about Mexican drug cartels. And then, of course, when talking about Venezuela, did not hide the fact that he wanted to talk about regime change in oil. This is outrageous. In the United States, we have a system of checks and balances. We have 3 branches of government: the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative branch. We in Congress are going to have to hold this president accountable. And that's what I will do as your next Congresswoman. In addition to that, watching our country become virtual pirates in this international domain and sphere is wrong. We have to also recognize that the Pandora's box that we've opened up domestically is also being opened up internationally, and it's dangerous. We have got to start getting serious about standing up to this man and his unchecked and unfettered his power that he is now using and abusing across this world?
There's a ton of suffering that's going on in this world. You have nations where there are kids who aren't eating, where there are people who are being bombed on a regular basis, where there are folks who don't even have a functioning government. I want those people to not be suffering as much as possible. But what we cannot have is a president who completely circumvents the role of Congress and who lies about it. First, he said that they were targeting Venezuela because it was about a war on drugs, and fentanyl is killing so many people in this country. But then the people who know the numbers said, actually, there isn't any fentanyl that comes from Venezuela. It's cocaine that comes from Venezuela. And then he said, oh, well, actually, it's about oil. The role of Congress is to declare war. The president doesn't have authorization to unilaterally go to war without the people's representatives, because we all know it ain't the president's son who they're about to send over there to die. It's going to be our kids. So I believe in fully ensuring that Congress exercises its power and holding the president accountable and doing everything we can to be thoughtful about how we act internationally with other countries.
Thank you so much. This next question, this is a current event. Like yesterday. Yesterday, Texas sent the voter rolls, which included 18 million voters from Texas, to the U.S. Department of Justice. What will you be able to do about it, and how will you use your voice to, how will you use your voice? First of all, let me, if I may take some liberties with this question. What was your initial reaction when you saw the broadcast or saw the news clipping about the governor of Texas sending this information to the DOJ? And as a member of Congress, how will you fight to protect it, to protect our information from being misused or used against us by private corporations?
I thought two things. The first was, this is absolutely horrible. There is no reason why the governor should be providing our data in that way to the president. The second thing I thought was, here we go again. You see, for the past 5 years, I've been fighting back against Greg Abbott and his assaults on our elections. When they came and tried to blow up our elections office in Harris County, I fought them in court every single step of the way. When they tried to throw our votes out and when they made it harder to vote by mail, I've been in lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit against Greg Abbott and against Ken Paxton over this very thing. You send me to Congress, I'm going to push as hard as I can to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. Because I believe that we should have 24-hour voting in this country. I believe you should be able to register to vote online in 2025. I believe that nobody should be blocking people from giving folks water when they're standing in line to go vote. And I believe that our election data should be protected. We cannot allow Greg Abbott to try to start running for president now and selling out registered voters in order to do so. So you send me to Congress, I will be public about it, and I will work to pass those two laws.
Ms. Edwards?
One of the things I think we all witnessed is the fact that this administration will do anything possible to gain power and control, whether that is suppressing voting rights, whether that is in a mid-decade redistricting, engaging in a racial gerrymandering of the maps, in which a Trump appointee even called it racially gerrymandering, yet our Supreme Court still is allowing that map to be used in a midterm coming up. We are in a time where everything is under attack, and I know firsthand how critically it is important is for us in Congress to hold the president accountable. The Department of Justice should not be having access to these voter files and using them and allowing them to be used in ways that are inappropriate and can be abusive. We have to fight back about it. It's not just saying something about it. It's also holding them to account. Where are the hearings? How are we going about the business of Congress to stop this behavior? And that's what we have to do in a moment like this.
Thank you both, and thank you for everyone who contributed to the Q&A from the audience. Closing remarks. remarks from our collaborating partners is next. Before we go into that, I just want to thank both candidates. I'm praying for you both on this trail. I have seen you all so much, so many times. I spent time with you both, and I'm praying for you both, for your health, for your safety, because there's a lot going on in this country, and people do not want us to be represented. So thank you for your courage and your decision to run to represent us. And I know after January 31st, one of you will get a new title and will be seated into this 119th Congress. But then you will be running again in the primary. And so my ask of the audience of this collection of leaders and visionaries and voices in our community is to keep them lifted in prayer, because they haven't had any rest. It will be a year, exactly a year since they announced their candidacy on Election Day. Election Day is the 3rd of March. I believe they announced probably a couple of weeks after the death of Mayor Turner, which was March 5th of last year. So just keep them covered in prayer. That is our duty, because one of them may become our representative, our federal employee, because they will be working for us. So please just keep them covered in prayer, keep them in your thoughts, and keep them encouraged. All right? Thank you so much. Next, we will hear from our collaborating partners, which include Kappa Alpha Psi, the Houston Voting Initiative. Is it? 67. Okay. Super Neighborhood 67. And if I forgot anyone else, please blame my head and not my heart.
Yes, we welcome our collaborators if they want to have some remarks, but also I wanted our 2 representatives, one from Tax Assessor Annette Ramirez's office, if they had to say a word or two about especially what's at their table, and the Tanisha Husband's office as well, the elections office, because they have some very important dates, and for any type of clarification on your address, where you live, they maybe can ask some questions if you are going to vote in the primary in March. That does affect many of us. But thank you again for coming.
And while they're coming, I want to recognize any elected officials in the room. I do see Representative Jones. She's my state rep. So thank you for your attendance. Any others? Any other elected officials, precinct chairs, any of those? Are there any candidates in the room? No?
For what? I'm running for re-election for state representative in the primary, House District 147. Welcome.
And I'm stepping out doing something I said I wasn't going to do. And I'm running for precinct chair because as a voter, and I'm saying this as a directive too, as a voter, I'm disappointed that my precinct chair never reached out after the death of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, when they had a huge decision to make of August of 2024, and still did not, and repeated that same thing and not reach out after the death of Sylvester Turner. One of the responsibilities of precinct chair is to keep the voters informed. And so I made a hard decision. I asked she didn't say anything about what y'all have had going on these past 10 months. I made the decision to ask my business partner with the Houston Campaign School, as well as my partner, my boo, like, what do y'all think? Is this something I need to take on? And they both said yes without hesitation. And I talked to my pastor about it, my friends, so I'm running for precinct chair for 53 over in the Heights. So I challenge you all to find out who your precinct chair is, call them, and let them know what's on your mind. It's their job to help activate voters and voices in our communities when it comes to elections. Now for our partners.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here today. I've never been in anything like this. It's exciting to hear from both of you. Congratulations for where you've gotten, and good luck to both of you. I am Gayla Bryant. I'm here from the Harris County Tax Office, representing our tax assessor, Annette Ramirez. Just want to remind everyone, Saturday, January 31st is the official runoff election. Please know these dates, that January 21st it's a Wednesday. It is the first day of early voting. If you haven't registered already, please register yourselves to vote. If your family members, your neighbors haven't, they need to vote. Unfortunately, they won't be able to vote in this election because the last day to register to vote was January 2nd. Last day to apply for your ballot by mail is Tuesday, January 20th. And the last day of early voting is Tuesday, January 27th of this year. Want to also remind you that Tuesday, March 3rd is the primary election. Last day to register to vote for that is February 2nd. So like I said, if you know someone that's not registered to vote, please encourage them to get registered to vote. The last day to submit your application for ballot by mail is Friday, February 20th, and the first day of early voting is February 17th. And the last day to early vote is February 27th, and then of course that following Tuesday, March 3rd, is the actual election day. Please get out there and vote. Please encourage people to your left and the right and the people behind you. We need to get out there and vote. As they've told us many a time, we have to have let our voices be heard. It is your right. So get out there and vote. Thank you.
Howdy and good morning. Thank you so much for letting me be here. Thank you so much to Diane for allowing me the privilege to be here. Thank you so much to the candidates for your time. Thank you so much to everybody being here. It's a Saturday morning. It's a Saturday afternoon, so we spent the better part of the morning and afternoon together, so thank you so much. Just a couple reminders. Gayla did steal all my thunder, so she got out all the important election dates, but Alexander Govea from the Harris County Clerk's Office Elections Outreach Department. Some other information I do want to provide. As she mentioned, 21st through the 27th is going to be early voting. We are going to have 17 early voting locations. We're also going to be having 62 election day locations. And for my community members who live in this area, the nearest vote center for early voting and election day is going to be the Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. So that is 1.7 miles away, 7 miles away, or not 7 miles, 7 minutes away from this location via Uber or a car ride. So that's your nearest voting center location, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We're also going to be open on Sunday and Saturday as well. And Sunday is going to be from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. So after you get out of church here, you can go ahead and make your way over to the Wheeler Baptist Church. Again, please check in with me. Please come and get some information. If you're interested in having any of me coming out to your locations or giving voter education workshops, or if you would like any of the forms that we have digitally so that you can share it with your family members, get my email and I can email it to you as well. But thank you so much for your time, the opportunity, and it's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
I have a question.
State rep.
I think the question should be with you.
Sure.
I've had a number of people call my office because there's really only one place to vote in Texas 18, like in Wheeler. So like Sunnyside's not open. So people are really upset about that because especially seniors are used to voting wherever it is they vote. And so I guess my question is, who picks the voting locations?
Yeah.
Who decides that? So that's the one question. And something else that stood out to me because somebody asked. So for example, the county attorney's office has a polling location, but other places that are historic to black people are not. And so who makes that? So who do we need to complain to?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that's going to be, it's still the county clerk's office. We have a separate department inside the elections called the locations department. It's a team that they reach out and coordinate with all community centers, churches, hotels, different facilities and buildings. I can get that information to you, so I could facilitate that conversation or get you that contact information so you can direct that questions to them, but unfortunately I can't answer to that. But thank you so much.
So this is County Clerk Hudspeth's office?
Correct.
You know what, I can call her and ask.
Works too. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Benefield?
Good afternoon. We are so thankful that you're willing to give your time, your talent, and your treasure to further the democratic process, because it is critical at this day and this time. Democracy is not simply a spectator sport where any of us have the luxury of sitting on the sideline and watching as things unfold on the floor, but rather it's a gladiator sport where each of us have to get in the arena and fight. And I am pleased to know that you all are out there fighting for our community. The Houston Voting Initiative is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, and in order to facilitate turnout in CD18, we are planning to do some texting the day before early voting to remind people where to go out and vote, or where to find information about voting, and the day before the election on January 31st, because turnout is critical. Our voices need to be heard, and they cannot be heard if we're sitting on the sideline. Thank you.
My name is Alisa Daniels Ross. I am Vice President of Restoration Life Project. This is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and my organization is an anti-human trafficking organization. And what I just wanted to say is that human trafficking is something that we don't talk about enough in our communities, but it's like anything else. It hits our communities harder than it hits anyone else. Of course, we are in an era where, nothing is being updated by the federal government, but the last time that it was updated, there was like over 97,000 missing black girls and women. And a great portion of them are being trafficked, but it's like anything else. When we go missing, we can be as young as 10 or 11 years old, and we are considered runaways without any, no pushback, nobody, no TV time, no airtime, no anything. And what I'm saying is that as people, we are going to have to be, and it hits every community. I don't care if you live in the suburbs, if you live in the inner city, if you live in a rural community. So human trafficking is very prevalent. And as I said, when the question was posed earlier, then Houston is the #1 hub for that. And people come in from, it's like everywhere. So sometimes at that Port of Houston, when you're thinking those are things to be sold, well, those are people to be sold in those shipping containers, because they're shipped from everywhere. And like we're gonna have the World Cup here, this summer. That's gonna be just something else. So when we have any major event, unfortunately, even sometimes Christian events, the human trafficking is revved up even more. So I'm just asking you to be aware, pay attention. We do have a table in the back if you have any questions. I'm here. I think that my president, she had to do some running between two things today, but I think she's back as well. We will be glad to answer those questions, as well as we do what we call chat sessions. We can do them. We can do them personally for families. Those we do via Zoom. We do them. We can go to your church organization, any social organization, homeowners association. You just call us, and we would be glad to come and talk to you about these things, because what we have to do is protect. Just protect people in general, but especially our daughters. We don't want to keep having them missing. So thank you.
My name is Ken Rogers. I'm the president of Greater Third Ward, Super Neighborhood number 67. And I didn't write my question down, because once I write something down in my handwriting, minutes later, I can't read it. So I wanted to take liberties now and ask my question. Sitting here today, listening to you two, this dynamic duo, I thought, what a waste to have to choose between the two. And I thought to myself, here's a question for them. Will you guys work together for us, to benefit us, no matter who wins, who loses? Will you continue to fight for us? And Ms. Edwards, I guess I'll ask you first.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not new to this journey. Y'all have seen that I have been steadfast when it comes to advocating and supporting the members of the 18th Congressional District. I served as an at-large city council member. After serving in that capacity, I then ran for mayor, and of course, as y'all know the story, when Congresswoman Jackson Lee decided that she wanted to come home and serve as mayor, I made a pivot to serve the 18th Congressional District. And I got to really hear and appreciate on the federal side a lot of the concerns that were raised. And when Congresswoman Jackson Lee decided that she would, her mayoral bid was not successful, she decided that she would re-enter the congressional race, and she won in the primary. Several weeks later, she announced that she had pancreatic cancer, passed away. When that happened, we couldn't go back to the voters who had just cast their vote for me and ask them to recast their vote. We had a precinct chair selection process. During that process, Congressman Turner and I were one vote apart in the first round. On the second round, it closed out at four votes. He became our congressman. And of course, as you know, he had an untimely demise as well in March the 5th, 2025. Throughout this journey that I have been on, there has never been a moment where I have said no, where I have turned my back, where I have said I'm going to take my ball and go home because I'm not the elected. And so you better understand this. You have to put the kind of people into office that you really can trust with the public trust. And even if things don't go their way, they are still so committed to you, still so committed to this community, that they will continue to roll up their sleeves and partner with you and do the work each and every single day. You have seen it, you have witnessed it, and of course, it's been tested, and nothing changes as it relates to this connection, this particular situation. So I want you all to know, as they say, you know, I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. And I will be here to help support our community. You know, after I left council, I had the opportunity to start a nonprofit, because we continued to get calls from residents asking for help. When are you going to do this? Are you going to keep doing that? I said, don't worry, we'll figure out a way. And we did, because I know that leadership isn't about a title. Real leadership is about a mission. And we've got to be on a different kind of mission at this time. A mission of a lifetime where, in fact, we're standing in a moment where we have our president who is attacking us each and every single day. So we've got to stand up to this moment and occasion, and we will do it with the tools that we have at our disposal. Thank you.
Yes.
3 minutes. So we can keep it back.
No, I'll be brief. The answer is yes. Public service has never been about me. It's never been about Christian Menifee. I got into public service because I just wanted to help people. I was in the private sector, and Donald Trump won the Republican primary, and I said to myself, how can there be a subset of people in this country who think that this is okay, right? And then time after time, when he spit on our communities and nobody was doing anything about it, I wanted to do something about it. So for me, if it's this, if it's that, it doesn't matter. It's about service to the people, so it's not about me. And I have no problem working with anybody in our communities, including Ms. Edwards. I have a lot of respect for you. In this campaign, I've been positive the entire time throughout, because at the end of the day, I know that, look, I want to win. Okay, I want to win. But if I don't win, y'all are going to be in good hands. Y'all will be okay.
I'm so proud of y'all, both of you. And we were just listening and thinking, we've been through a lot. Has there been in this whole process of representation over here, like folks said, off up in here. And then we've been also talking about the importance of young leadership who's got the energy. I love the question you asked in the beginning is, tell us how y'all made it through and how you're doing. Because that's the folks in the village will say always, how y'all doing? And I told Amanda when she walked in, I said, let me look. I saw Chris walking in with the baby, and where's your wife? Did they leave? Or because you got two little bitty ones. And I said, I looked in the eye when Amanda came in, having been close. I think I've seen you at a couple of things, but not hooked up with her. I said, let me look in your eyes like the mamas in the village say, let's see how y'all doing. Because y'all know you have to look at, my mother used to say, none of this, come over here with me, because you're going to have to sing us out of here too. This little poet over here and this young person, which is our future, and the two of y'all, we want you to know, Diane, and where's the pastor in here? We off in this church, and we've been asking to do prayers. We pray for everybody, for them, for y'all's safety, for y'all encouragement, and your knowing we need both of you, and we need everybody to be out here to help us go forward, but we need to be able to make sure we support the young, talented, educated, informed, and experienced young people to take the 18th forward. And I've been telling everybody that. They've been looking at me, and I say, yeah, all of us that are these baby boomers, we think the world evolved around us, and we're going to need to be out there fighting till the end, and y'all know that's a dream, or is it a nightmare? I don't know. But come back around here. But I want y'all to know we support you. I'm so glad that for your answers and your excitement, and I want to let Sylvia make a comment because she and I were both talking about what the future is going to be, and then I want to give for the, where is our moderator? Don't leave because I want to mention this one thing, and I call out the precincts, and then, what's our moderator? She's got to run, but she told y'all that she stood up for the first level of the election is the precinct judge. She made a commitment and says, I've got to get there because I was embarrassed at that meeting, Amanda, when we were dealing with the situation around Sheila's passing. I don't know where my precinct judge was. Half of them may or may not have been there. Nobody reached out, as our facilitator says, to engage the community. Our numbers are low. We look like we don't care. Folks say it doesn't make a difference, and we don't have the first level of governance. We're talking about D.C., the president, but we don't have a precinct. The P's and the P's, the first P is right here in 3rd Ward for us. And I want to call out these 14 precincts that we have, so if anybody in here lives there, if you don't know who your precinct judge is, which I don't, we want to find out where the people are and who will step up and say, I will run for that position. And Diane, how many we would, at least about 7 of them out of the 14 that's in the community clause boundaries. I think, did you even have anybody as a precinct chair? One of them maybe, right? The only one of the 3, and I think 2 of the other ones were vacant. You were trying to get some people to run. Okay, hold on. If you can hold this for me, Sylvia, I want to just call this out just for the record on what the precinct numbers, just in case if it's not you, y'all know we know family. It's not about you individually. It's about your family, our community, and you know people. I was part of the 5th Ward where you were talking about all of the environmental issues. Grew up and was raised there. Been over in 3rd Ward more than that. Ken, you know y'all have got roots, you and Carl Davis and all that group. You started here. But in any way, I want you to know that we got family. Talk to people, tell them, and make sure they get out and vote. Because it's really not, when I went to Austin for that redistricting, I could look at those people. Amanda, you were there in the sessions, and Jolanda, they were looking at us like I could see myself on the plantation back down there in Brazoria, Matagorda, because these folks said, y'all don't care because you haven't been out to vote. So don't let them think we don't care about our freedom. And Jordan, you right here, I want you to sing something when we leave too, if you can. You do acapella, will you do it? Oh, hold on, see if you read. Okay. The precincts are 19, 20, 21, 136, 193, 194, 210, 390, 540, 24, 25, 85, 198, 247, and 389. If you know your precinct, if you don't, this is mainly in this geographic area around Central 3rd Ward. So Sylvia, you got anything? She told me to shut up.
I just want to say on behalf of the 3rd Ward Community Cooperative and the 3rd Ward Fund Management Group that was as part of the sponsorship of this event. We thank you so much. So we're so proud of you all, and I'm not going to say anything else because Ken made the point of one of the points I would have made, and one of my questions which has already been asked. So thank you all so much. We're so proud of you. Thank you.
I'll sing it real quick. It's just a little chorus from my song Peachy Keen, and it's to encourage you guys. This is my first, I don't know what you call it, because I know y'all weren't debating, but my first forum, getting to watch people. Like I said, I only voted in the major election, so this is my first time. And even from the major election, the only people I knew were Trump and Kamala. Like everybody else I didn't know. So this is my first time putting faces to the actual names, and it's really nice to see you guys and see your passion. Like, when I go to vote, I know it's going to be a hard decision, so I'll have to do more research on you guys, but you guys have both been great. So anyway, my little chorus is Peachy Keen, and it's my song to encourage you guys and everybody else in here to pursue everything that you're doing wholeheartedly and not give up. So it just goes, Peachy Keen, I'm more than I seem, I got a dream, and I'm gonna make it happen. Peachy Keen, I'm more than I seem, I got a dream, and I'm gonna make it happen. And yeah, thank you guys. Oh.
Is Mr. Gobert here? James? Oh, he left? Okay. He was the president of the alumni chapter for the Kappa Alpha Psi, but he had a great contribution, and we thank him all. And he was the one that really pushed us to have this runoff forum. After we had the first one in September, he came up to me and said, oh, we got to do another. We got to have a runoff. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Gobert for that. But thank you all for coming. Have a very good afternoon. And as Dr. Meshe says, please stay safe, stay healthy, and congratulations, and good luck.